Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumritam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijan Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishavanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhubhaiva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, thank you all for coming. First announcement that many of you are getting this error message on your phones that you are not able to play the Zoom recording. So Zoom company has fixed the glitch by having a patch installed on my computer, which I have done. So after our class today, I'm going to send the class recordings to some of you, even though you are virtually present. I'm going to send you the class recording so we can test across various devices such as Android phone, iPhone, Pixel phone, all types of phone. Therefore, I'm going to send you the class recording so we can test and respond back to Zoom. Simultaneously, you can also test whether you are able to play previous Zoom class recordings. Most likely you will not be able to play, but you can please test. So there is a patch that Zoom company is still supposed to release to be installed on your phones. Once that is installed, hopefully that should resolve, but I don't know what they are planning with that second patch. So let's see what happens after I send you the recording after our today's class. Deepa, can you please connect your audio? Therefore, you are not able to listen. I will send you a direct message also because you will not be able to listen to what I am saying. Let me send a message to Deepa.
And I'm sorry, but I'm unable to add my name. I don't see the option to do it.
Okay, I will fix it and I will show you next time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I did message Deepa and let's see. Okay, and I will change Rashi. And Rashi, you can please connect with me offline so I can explain these things to you. And then you will be set.
Thank you.
Okay, so last time I did describe, and I'm going to repeat today about the yoga ladder class. So I'm going to share the yoga ladder document again. I think everybody has it. But just in case, I'm going to share it again in the chat. So you can please download it again. Now, some of you did connect with me for an editable version. So I request you to please print and you will know the reason. There are two reasons for it, that we will be jumping between various columns, and if you try to do it virtually, could be a challenge, because at the pace at which this yoga ladder class will be going is going to be mind-boggling for all of you. So if you try to do it virtually, could be a challenge. Therefore, I request you to print. And the second reason will become evident when we complete the yoga ladder class, and you will know. So the yoga ladder class, as you will see, as I will have on screen, it has 80 some boxes to populate. And the yoga ladder class will run like a movie in a fast forward mode. Any of our existing class that you might have found to be very, very fast, the yoga ladder class will be 4 times faster than any of the class we have had so far. So please print, and you will realize, because all these boxes will be going back and forth, and it will be very hard for you to do it electronically or in a virtual document. And of course, I will explain the second reason at the class. So for this yoga ladder class coming up after the next class, we will have the yoga ladder class. And for the yoga ladder class, join ahead of time and sit at a place with a cone of silence around you. If you have to travel that day, it is not going to work, because you have to populate, and even with sitting with cone of silence, you will still miss about 25% of the boxes. So you can visualize that it's going to run very, very fast. And as I've explained, that splitting this class in two doesn't work. I've done this class at this pace in all of the previous batches, that I offload everything, and then the following class you will ask any and all questions. And this yoga ladder class is a summary of the first 6 chapters. So I print on a tabloid size page, 11 by 17. So otherwise, the print will be so small and it will be difficult for you to capture the points that you have to capture on the chart. Deepa, are you able to listen now? Deepa is again disconnected. Okay. All right. So today we will start chapter 6. And between today and next class, we will cover a lot of volume of verses. So we already discussed briefly about Ashtanga Yoga in chapter 5, verses 27 and 27 at our last class. So this Ashtanga Yoga or Dhyan Yoga is one and the same. The chapter title is Dhyan Yoga, is just another name for Ashtanga Yoga, is one and the same. This Ashtanga Yoga is not the yoga process for this Kali Yuga. Krishna will describe that when one eventually has to renounce, what should one do to renounce? So they can follow Ashtanga Yoga process. But as I explained at our last class, that when you have to renounce, you have multiple options. You can either do Gyan Yoga, or you can follow Ashtanga Yoga, or you can just continue the Bhakti Yoga. And devotees in ISKCON, their Bhakti Yoga is so matured, that their Karma Yoga to Bhakti Yoga is so matured that they don't go to Ashtanga Yoga process. They just continue their Bhakti Yoga up to the last moment of their leaving the body. Now, between Gyan Yoga and Ashtanga Yoga, Krishna clearly will go on to explain that Gyan Yoga is next to impossible. So don't go Gyan Yoga path. If at all you have to renounce, you go the Ashtanga Yoga path. Now, there's very fine line between Jnana Yoga and Ashtanga Yoga, but we'll discuss briefly as we progress about the tiny differences between all these yoga paths. So chapter 6, the overview of the sections. Chapter 6 is titled Dhyan Yoga, which is also known as Ashtanga Yoga. Section 1 is verses 1 to 9. Title is From Aruruksha to Arudha Stage. So this first section talks about advancement on the stage of yoga from Aruruksha. Aruruksha means beginning stage to Arudha stage. Arudha means advanced stage. So visualize a ladder that Aruruksha is one who is just about starting to climb a ladder, and Arudha is somebody who is situated somewhere above, somewhere in between, or at the top, depending on how much he has advanced, is situated on the ladders somewhere in the top part, middle or top part. Now, these first 9 verses talks about the process one has to go through by which one can renounce the world. In Ashtanga Yoga, one renounces the world and focuses exclusively on meditation. Now, this requires certain preliminary purification, and these preliminary purification requirements are described in these first 9 verses of chapter 6. Section 2 is verses 10 to 32. Title is From Practice to Perfection in Ashtanga Yoga. These verses describe progressively how one can attain perfection when one is practicing Ashtanga Yoga. So these verses 10 to 32 describe the sadhana of Ashtanga Yogi. So just as you all as Bhakti Yogis, you do the sadhana of, say, chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, reading scriptures, associating with devotees, doing devotional services. So these all are examples of the sadhana of you all Bhakti Yogis. Similarly, Ashtanga Yogi also has a laundry list of his sadhana, and these verses 10 to 32 describe the sadhana of Ashtanga Yogi. Section number 3 is verses 33 to 36. Title is Dealing with the Mind, the main obstacle on the path of yoga. Section 4 is verses 37 to 45. If mind deviates the yogi, what is the destination of the unsuccessful yogi? Section 5 is verses 46 and 47. Title is The Topmost Yogi Fixes His Mind on Krishna. So after going through the elaborate analysis of the process of Ashtanga Yoga and the various yoga paths such as Gyan Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, Karma Kanda, Krishna will eventually come to the conclusion that Bhakti Yoga is the best and the highest process and the path. And these verses 46 and 47 will set the scene for Krishna to start speaking about Bhakti Yoga from chapter 7 onwards. Now, chapter 6 takes us slowly up on the yoga ladder to perfection by fixing the mind on Krishna. And the Bhakti Yoga section, which is chapters 7 to 12, describes an alternative way of attaining the same perfection. As we progress, I will show you visuals for all this, what I'm talking. It's all upcoming. Everybody with me? Questions, comments, realizations? Monarch Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Prabhu, what is the difference between section 1 and 2? Because title seems to be the same.
So section 1 is from Aruruksha to Aruda stage. That's the title. While section 2 is from practice to perfection in Ashtanga Yoga. Titles are not same. Section 1 describes the preliminary steps you have to do for the Ashtanga Yoga sadhana, which is described in section 2. Section 2 is the specific sadhana activities of the Ashtanga yogi, while section 1 describes the preliminary steps that you need to do to come to Ashtanga Yoga. Monarch Prabhu.
I got it, Prabhu. Thank you.
Everybody on the same page? All right. Now, as we read through, it will feel like I don't understand a lot of what we are talking, because a lot of the initial discussion in chapter 6 is on Ashtanga Yoga. I already explained that Ashtanga Yoga is not the yoga process for Kali Yuga. So the question will become, well, then why do I need to read this? There are two reasons, very important two reasons. Why it is in Bhagavad Gita? Yes, because it is, Bhagavad Gita is for all yugas. So of course, parts that are applied for Satyug will obviously be there in Bhagavad Gita as well. But the two reasons why we are studying Ashtanga Yoga is that first, parts of Ashtanga Yoga sadhana can be used while you are doing your Bhakti Yoga. So we will capture those points, and a lot of these points will become clearer as we do the yoga ladder class in our upcoming the next two classes very, very soon. Therefore, we will run through this chapter 6 very, very quickly so that we can come to yoga ladder class, and a lot of things will make sense at the yoga ladder class. So this is first reason that we'll use parts of Ashtanga Yoga sadhana while we are doing Bhakti Yoga. We'll understand as we progress. The second reason is when you will do the comparison of Ashtanga Yoga and Bhakti Yoga, then you will realize that Ashtanga Yoga is very difficult. You have the visual on the screen for Ashtanga Yoga. Tell me how many of you are able to do what you can see on the visual, that the Ashtanga Yogi is sitting in the forest trying to meditate, and the creepers are growing through his body, and His body is almost bare to bare bones. It's from just a visual, it's impossible. Therefore, when you do the comparison with Ashtanga Yoga and Bhakti Yoga, you will realize, well, Bhakti Yoga is very easy. You will have more conviction to focus on Bhakti Yoga. Everybody with me? Questions, comments, realizations? So even though it will feel like I don't understand what we are discussing, I request all of you to be patient and not to worry. In the upcoming yoga ladder class, all known and unknown puzzle pieces will fall in their respective places. Chaitanya Prabhu, verse number 1 translation, chapter 6. Everybody be prepared with your book. We'll run very fast. So be ready with your Bhagavad Gita where we are. Chaitanya Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, one who is unattached to the fruits of his work and who works as he is obligated is in the renounced order of life, and he is the true mystic, not he who lights no fire and performs no duty. Hare Krishna.
So one who does the work without taking shelter of fruits, he works as a duty. Such a person is a sannyasi, as well as such a person is a yogi. So sannyasi is one who works and not the person who does not work. So we already had this sannyasi discussion in chapter 5. That sannyasi is not somebody sitting idle. Sannyasi is not by dress. But sannyasi is somebody who works. So motivation for work is not fruits. So why would he work? The answer is that pure devotee can use everything for Krishna's service. So here Krishna is talking about Karma Yogi also. That Karma Yogi focusing on detaching from the world, hence Karma Yogi works in the material world only for purification. We have discussed this in chapter 5, verse number 11, that why would I work if I'm not worried about the fruits? Well, I'm working only for my purification. So in chapter 5, verse number 6, Krishna had said that sannyas and yoga are two different paths. And both sannyas and yoga ultimately lead to the same destination. But one who practices sannyas alone without yoga, he gets distress. In chapter 5, verses 5 and 6, specifically 5.6, what Krishna called as two different processes of sannyas and yoga, here in 6.1, Krishna is now saying that both these processes are one and the same. Here Krishna is saying that both sannyas means detachment from material world and yoga means connection with the absolute truth are same and similar. And Krishna will clarify how both of them are same in the next 6.2 verse. Krishna has already explained this in chapter 2, verse number 48 with the word equanimity, means yoga. He has given another definition of yoga as equanimity in 2.48. So in the purport for 6.1, Prabhupada goes on to explain that the person is a yogi because person is connected with the supreme whole. And person is a sannyasi because he is free from selfish desires. Hence, the same person is a sannyasi as well as a yogi. Everybody with me? Everybody finds, I don't understand what is going on. Silence, I got silence. All right. So in verse number 2, Krishna will explain the point that he said in 6.1. So if you look at 6.1, the Sanskrit, the third line says, Sa sannyasi cha yogi cha, meaning sannyasi and yogi are one and the same. And he will clarify this in verse number 2. Manish Prabhu, verse number 2 translation.
Hare Krishna. What is called the renunciation you should know to be the same as yogi, all linking oneself with Supreme. O son of Pandu, for one can never become a yogi unless he renounces the desire for sense gratification.
So sannyas is also known as yoga. So in chapter 5, Krishna stated that sannyas and yoga, both these different processes get you to similar destination of liberation. Now here in chapter 6, Krishna is saying that sannyas and yoga are same in content also. How are they same? If one does not give up the desire for worldly enjoyment, then one cannot become a yogi. And therefore, Krishna has said in 2.48, equanimity means yoga. Equanimity is another definition of yoga. We all know yoga means to connect with Supreme. So there cannot be true yoga, there cannot be true connection with the Lord unless there is disconnection with the enjoying mentality at the bodily level. Now, wanting to enjoy at the bodily level takes us away from the Lord. Example, to remove darkness, you turn on the light. Now, darkness is automatically gone as soon as there is light. Therefore, the two are connected, the two being darkness and light. Similarly, when there has to be yoga, sannyas has to be there. If there is no sannyas, there is not much of real yoga happening. Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport, Srila Prabhupada combines sannyas and yoga and equates it with bhakti. So real sannyas yoga or bhakti means one should know and act according to his constitutional position. So same person is a sannyasi as well as a yogi, means the person is not taking shelter of the fruits of work. So common factor for both sannyas and yoga is that one has to give up the desire for enjoying at the bodily level or the desire to enjoy anything in the material world. Deepa, verse number 3 translation. Diksha, verse number 3 translation.
Hare Krishna. For one who is a neophyte in the eightfold yoga system, work is said to be the means. And for one who is already elevated in yoga, cessation of all the material activity is said to be the means. Hare Krishna.
So, Aruruksha means one who is beginning the process of yoga. It's a neophyte. So at that time, when one is in the aruruksha stage or a neophyte or a beginner, at that time, karma is the cause of one's progress in spiritual advancement. And when one is advanced in yoga, means one reaches the aruda stage, inactivity or cessation of material activities is the cause of one's progress on the path of spirituality. So Krishna is giving a structure that at aruruksha stage, the beginning stage, work itself will lead to spiritual advancement. And at aruda stage, cessation of work will lead to spiritual advancement. So what Monarch Prabhu asked, I'll repeat here, that section 1 verses 1 to 9 talks about moving from aruruksha, meaning the beginning stage, to arudha, advanced stage. At this initial aruruksha stage, activity means karma yoga is the means for advancement. And when one becomes arudha or advanced, then one gives up work. Now, very important to understand my next statement, that these externals of working or giving up work are not the essential differences between aruruksha and aruda. So just by giving up work, one does not move from aruruksha to aruda stage. No. So the difference is the control of the mind. To be able to be equipoised to external things, that's when you can judge whether you have advanced to the aruda stage or not. And Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport the eightfold activities of Ashtanga Yoga, which are meant to achieve perfect mental equilibrium to control the senses. So mind can be controlled by the yoga process, or mind can be controlled by devotional services, meaning working for Krishna. So this eightfold yoga system are the 8 stages of Ashtanga Yoga. These 8 stages can apply to other yoga paths such as Karma Yoga and Bhakti Yoga also. So the 8 stages, you can divide it into 4 and 4. The first 4 items are for the first stage, meaning the aruruksha or the neophyte stage. And items number 5 to 8 are the second stage of arudha or advanced stage. So I will explain, you might have heard this, I will explain each one of them. So the eightfold yoga system or the 8 stages of Ashtanga Yoga are Yama, Niyam, Asana, Prayanam. So these are the first 4 for Aruksha. And then from number 5 onwards is Arudha is Pratyahar, Dhyana, Dharana, and Samadhi. I'll explain all of these. So yama means don't, that there are few things that we don't have to do. And niyam means do's, means something we have to follow. So yama and niyam are the rules for discipline, meaning we regulate ourselves. Third item is asana, that sit in a particular position which helps in your sadhana. So the consciousness has to move inwards. Fourth item is pranayam, that the purpose is same as asana, to help the consciousness move inwards. Purpose of regulating the breathing is to calm down the mind. You can judge for yourself that when I am agitated, I generally breathe very fast. When I slow down, my breathing is slow and my breathing is deep. And the mind also becomes calm when my breathing is deep and my breathing is slow. So these first items of yama, niyam, asana, and pranayam for sure can be used in our bhakti yoga and karma yoga paths as well. For example, while you are chanting, you have to say, sit properly in a calm mind. And as we go through the actual sadhana items of Ashtanga Yogi, we will have specifics that we will try to pick and use for our karma yoga and bhakti yoga items. And the second stage is Aruda or advanced stage, which includes the remaining 4 items starting from number 5, Pratyahar. Ahar means food and Prati means opposite. So Pratyahar is opposite to food, meaning at Pratyahar, we don't feed our senses. So at the Pratyahar stage, the person starves the senses. So example, eyes want to see good looking objects. Tongue wants to taste delicious food. So we deprive all these to the senses at the Pratyahar stage. Then dhyana is to meditate on Vishnu. Dharana is to control and fix in absorption. And samadhi is complete absorption. So these stages number 6, 7, and 8 get discussed later here in this chapter 6. So as I said, that these first 9 verses tell you the preliminary steps that the Ashtanga Yogi has to do. So first we regulate our physical activities with the first 4 items of yama, niyam, asana, and pranayama. These first 4 aruruksha activities can of course be practiced by all of us, even while working in the world, while doing our karma yoga and bhakti yoga stages as well. When one reaches the pratyahar stage, meaning shutting out the senses, then one can renounce the world. So Krishna is saying, when one is doing steps number 1, 2, 3, 4 of yama, niyam, asana, and pranayam, one can work in the external material world. Actually, one has to work. But after that, when one reaches the pratyahar stage, step number 5, then if required, one can stop working and simply focus on meditating and start focusing on the inner world. So as I explained, and I'll repeat that, you do not have to stop working. You can continue bhakti yoga. So ISKCON devotees, ISKCON sannyasis, their karma yoga is matured to bhakti yoga so much that up to the very last moment, they just continue their bhakti yoga. Bhakti yoga means to remember Krishna. So they just continue their chanting or remembering Krishna up to the very last moment. I will pause here. I already did a lot of heavy conversation. There's a point mentioned in the chat I will read out. That does this mean that we all have to take sannyas already in our attempt to practice bhakti yoga? So we do not have to take sannyas. Sannyas is an ashram. There you can continue your grahastha ashram. All of us are grahasthas. We can continue grahastha. And therefore, in one of our previous class, in chapter 5, I had given among my favorite lectures of Srila Prabhupada title, How to Find a Grahastha Sannyasi. Now, Grahastha and Sannyasi are opposite. How can they be one and the same person? And you might have heard, or you can listen it again. Prabhupada explains that the difference is Grahastha, living with family in the material world, working, when he is not attached to family, not attached to fruits, but simply focused on working for Krishna, well, he is a sannyasi because he is engaged in working for Krishna. So you don't have to take actual sannyas. Sannyas means you are completely using your time and energy for Krishna's service, whether you are in a grahastha ashram or sannyasi ashram, that is secondary. What actually determines you as a sannyasi is that you are continuing your endeavor or your energy in serving Krishna. Does that answer the inquiry? And anybody else has any questions, comments, realizations?
I just have one small question. What is yam? Niyam, asana, and pranayam I understood, but what is yam?
So understand yama and niyam together. So in Krishna consciousness, there are rules to follow and rules to avoid. So for example, the rule is that you're supposed to chant at least 16 rounds of japa every day. So you may not be doing it right now. That don't get discouraged. You have to come to that level. So when you get initiated, it's mandatory. But even before initiation, you try to come to that level. And simultaneously, we have to follow the 4 regulative principles of no illicit sex, no meat eating, no gambling, and no intoxication. So these are do's and don'ts. That's what we have to follow. Rashi?
Ji, thank you.
Everybody on the same page? Questions, comments, realizations? Silence. I got a lot of silence. Okay.
I have one more question.
Yeah.
Yam and niyam are the first 2 rules, set of items in the Aruruksha stage. So do we have like a list of do's and don'ts very specific if we are looking to follow it?
For Bhakti Yoga, I already explained to you that chant 16 rounds and follow the 4 regular principles. There are a few other things. For Ashtang Yogi, in this chapter 6, verses 10 to 32, the specific items for Ashtang Yogi will be given. For Bhakti Yoga, these are your starting points of chanting 16 rounds of japa and following 4 regular principles. There are other things that are described throughout Bhagavad Gita. Rashi, does that help you?
Ji, thank you.
Okay, very good. Very good inquiries. Okay, in verse number 4, Krishna will explain what is it that will situate a person on the Aruda or the advanced stage. Gulshan, for translation.
Hare Krishna. A person is said to be elevated in yoga when have renounced all material desires. He neither acts for the sense gratification nor engages in fruitive activities.
A person with following three characteristics is situated on the Arudha or advanced stage. First is, one does not engage in fruitive activities. Second is, does not engage in fruitive activities that leads to sense gratification. Now, question becomes, what is the difference between sense gratification and fruitive activity? And another question will be, what can be the example of fruitive activity? The answers are, sense gratification is directly acting to gratify the senses. Say, for example, I want to eat something or touch something or enjoy something. And fruitive activity is the activity that leads to sense gratification later on. Example is karma kanda rituals, by which one may later get sense gratification. So from the three characteristics, the difference between the first and the second is that one is direct indulgence in sense gratification right now, and the second is fruitive activities that will lead to sense gratification in future. So these are the three characteristics which make a person situated on the Arudha stage. So first is, one does not engage in fruitive activities. Second, does not engage in fruitive activities that leads to sense gratification. And the third is, internally, one gives up the desire for sense gratification. Now, this is serious stage of renunciation. When one has all these three characteristics, then such a person is situated on the yoga arudha or the advanced stage. So a question is posted in the chat that what determines our time period to take sannyas, ashram, because Srila Prabhupada took sannyas at a very late age, while Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas at a very early age, like around 24 years of age. So what determines when you can take sannyas are the three characteristics that I just described in verse number 4. It's not the age that determines. It's the control of your mind, and that you have these characteristics, which I just described in verse number 4, that determines whether you can be on the Arudha stage or not. Now, do understand that sannyas for Vaishnavis is not advised at all. Vaishnavis should always be first under the protection of father, then under the protection of husband, and then under the protection of the son. One of the examples, there are many examples. One of the example is given in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, with the example of Devahuti. Devahuti is mother of Lord Kapila. Lord Kapila is Krishna himself. That first Devahuti was under the protection of father, then she got married to Kardama Muni, and then Kardama Muni left, and after Lord Kapila was appeared through Devahuti, and then Lord Kapila took care of the mother. So another question posted in the chat is that, should we take going back to Godhead as the fruit of our chanting or not? So right now you can have this goal that I want to go back home to Godhead. It is okay to have right now. Once you become advanced enough, you will not have this desire also. It's described at great length. Should be 3.29.13 Srimad Bhagavatam verse, that devotee rejects all kinds of liberation, even if they are given by the Lord, if the liberation does not have service associated with it. Meaning, devotee's sole goal is service. If service is not there, then liberation is useless for the devotee. Everybody on the same page? Does that answer the questions?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So you just mentioned about the protections that Vaishnavis need. Um, like, may I know, like, why is that so? Because, like, if you say you need protection, it sounds like Vaishnavis are really weak and they need protection of a man.
Yeah, you are correct, and you already answered it. That if you actually look through Vaishnavis, females, their body is little fragile as compared to Vaishnavs or males. So that's a fact. You cannot deny this fact that Vaishnavis are body, the way the body is built is not as conducive as male body in the material world. And the exploitation of Vaishnavis is more prone when Vaishnavis are alone or any females are alone. And therefore, to avoid that exploitation, scriptures clearly describe that Vaishnavis should never take sannyas, and Vaishnavis should always be under the protection of first under the father, then under the husband, and then under the son. Sama, everybody.
But then won't it create like a sense of supremacy in the men?
Not the question of supremacy. You just have to realize that the structure of the bodies is different between males and females. So we have discussed this conversation at the start of chapter 2 when we had this conversation that why are females considered less intelligent. So it's not talking about that they are less intelligent per se. What it's saying is that understand that it's a fact. Krishna is not saying that somebody is intelligent or not intelligent. Krishna is just stating a fact that female bodies are constructed different than male bodies. That's all he's identifying as a fact. Sama?
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Everybody on the same page? Questions, comments, realizations? Everybody feels I don't understand what is going on? Wake up, everybody. I got real silence. Did I make you all sleep?
No, Sama asked a very good question. And I have to just chew over it and go deeper to see why Gita has mentioned that all women should be under some male's protection.
Yeah.
And if a woman is not fortunate enough to have it, then what she should be doing.
Okay. So you can listen to past recordings and the answers are all described in there. So Rashi, you are in the process of getting caught up and you can listen to the start of chapter 2 discussion. We have already discussed all this at great length.
Okay, thank you.
Rest of you on the same page, you find it very difficult, ask questions.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, I have a question.
Go ahead, Diksha.
Prabhuji, in verse number 4, it's mentioned that an elevated yogi is the one who does not engage in fruitive activities. So, should we take our desire to go back to Godhead, or we being able to go back to Godhead as a fruit of our activity of chanting Harinam or not?
Yeah, so I did answer. You might have got disconnected. I will answer again. So right now, yes, keep going back to Godhead as your desire. It's okay to have it because it's a spiritual desire. As you will progress, you will not have this going back to Godhead desire also. Your desire will simply be, how can I serve Krishna? It's described in 3.29.13 that devotee derides all kinds of liberation if there is no service. Even if liberation is given by Lord himself, devotee will say, no, I don't want liberation if there is no service. So you will come to the point, you will advance to the point of saying, I'm not concerned about going back to Godhead. I'm concerned about service. Now do understand, what does going back to Godhead mean? I have described earlier and I'll repeat. Going back to Godhead means you become a pure devotee. Whether you are physically present in the material world or you are physically in spiritual world, that physical is immaterial. It is that you have become a pure devotee means you are with Godhead always. Perfect example is our dear Srila Prabhupada. That Prabhupada was physically present here in the material world, but Prabhupada was always at Godhead level because Prabhupada has always been a pure devotee and he was always face to face with Krishna. Diksha, everybody?
Prabhuji, so does that mean that being a pure devotee would also mean that we would come back to earth again and again, but just so that our experience would be that Krishna would be with us forever or always?
So you can come to the material world in two ways. We all come according to 13.22, Purusha Prakriti Stohi, that we are placed under the material modes, under the stringent grips of material modes. Means we are forced under the material modes. We don't have a choice that I want a male body or a female body or an animal body or a bird body. We don't have a choice. We are forced to get a particular body depending on our desires. Pure devotee may also come to the material world under the direction of Krishna for a particular service, exactly what Srila Prabhupada did. So we'll have this discussion about Srila Prabhupada very soon in chapter 6 around verses 41 onwards, where we'll talk about who exactly is Srila Prabhupada. I'll explain briefly right now that Srila Prabhupada was a Manjari and even today is a Manjari in the spiritual world, directly serving Srimati Radharani. And Krishna directly asked Srila Prabhupada that you go to the material world to spread Krishna consciousness. So there's a difference. You and I and all of us, we don't have control on what body we get because we are under the control of material nature. Srila Prabhupada or any pure devotee, they come to the material world for a service that Krishna has asked them to do. Diksha?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Everybody on the same page? Questions, comments, realizations? All right.
Prabhuji, is there a difference between Brajbasi and pure devotee then?
So, true Vrajvasis, not just somebody physically living in Vrajvas, that doesn't make them a Vrajvas. True Vrajvasi, they may be living anywhere in the world. True Vrajvasi is one who is constantly in remembrance of Krishna, constantly doing devotional service. So all those true Vrajvasis living in Vrindavan, Mayapur and Dwarka, they are actually pure devotees. They are left here in the material world for us to learn from them how to do devotional service. So this point will get covered in Nectar of Devotion, and Diksha is there in the other class for Nectar of Devotion. So Nectar of Devotion is going to start very soon. The next two classes in batch number 5, where this topic about Vrajvasis will get covered in chapters 16 and 17 with the word Ragatmika, which basically refers to pure devotees or Vrajvasis, that they are left here in the material world, or actually they are sent from spiritual world to the material world to teach us how to do devotional service in the spiritual world for Srimati Radharani. Diksha?
Yes, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I'd like to add on to this.
Yeah.
While I was in Mayapur, there were Muslim Brajvasi as well. So,
Mhm.
what do we learn from them?
Yeah, so this caste that we have in India, which are thousands in number, such as in Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Jewish, what all, these are man-made. They are not created by Krishna. Krishna's religion is Sanatan Dharma. Sanatan Dharma means soul's eternal dharma is to serve Krishna. That is the Sanatan Dharma. That is the only religion. So all this, somebody being Muslim is irrelevant. Here in Toronto also, and not just in Toronto, across the whole world in ISKCON, you have devotees across all faiths because they are doing Sanatan Dharma. So you don't have to learn anything about Muslim from them. What you have to learn is that no matter what their religion is, they can still practice Sanatan Dharma. And that's what Krishna has said in Bhagavad Gita, that he is not discriminating against anyone or any religion. Bhagavad Gita is Sanatan, means eternal, applicable for all living entities, no matter what their faith level be, what their faith they are following. Diksha?
Yes, Prabhuji, but they do consume meat.
So just because they are not following all the steps does not mean they are not in Krishna. No, they are in the process of Krishna consciousness. I did explain that just because somebody is physically living in Vrajvasi, that does not make a Vrajvasi. So what you describe as somebody as a Muslim, probably is a Vrajvasi, you are thinking that he's physically living in Vrajvas, that does not make him a Vrajvasi. He's just a devotee who is trying to practice Krishna consciousness and his anarthas are not yet purified. So you don't have to learn anything from them. Somebody who's still in anartha stage, why would you want to learn anything from him? No, you have to learn from a ragatmika. Ragatmika are true Vrajvasis, are pure devotees. Will get covered in Nectar of Devotion very soon, Diksha, but I have briefly answered. Diksha.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Everybody on the same page?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Okay, verse number 5. Krishna will now state the main obstacle in coming to the Arudha stage. And the main obstacle is mind. Okay, let's see. Jinal, verse number 5 translation.
Hare Krishna. One must deliver himself with the help of his mind and not degrade himself. The mind is the friend of the conditioned soul and his enemy as well.
One should elevate the soul with the help of the mind and direct your mind in a way to elevate the soul. Then the mind is a friend of the soul. Otherwise, mind is enemy of the soul. In my current conditioned stage, mind is very much connected to the body. I don't find a difference between my mind and my body and even my soul. So where I am physically present is largely driven by where I am mentally present. An example to understand how mind can be friend or enemy of the soul. So door to the soul or door to the consciousness is the mind. We perceive the outer world through our mind and senses. Now, wherever my mind or wherever my door of the consciousness is open, that's what I perceive. And I become blind to everything else. Example, when materialistic people come to visit a temple, their mind is fixed on materialistic things. All these materialistic people can see is that there are expensive marble at the temple, there are good looking members of the opposite sex, and these materialistic people, they don't even notice Shri Radha Krishna. Why? Because their consciousness door is not open to Krishna. Their consciousness door is open to materialistic things. So the door is the mind. Because mind is materially conscious, therefore all they see is material things. And they do not see spiritual things at all because the spiritual door is closed. Therefore, whatever level our mind is at, that's what we are conscious of. Therefore, I said that where I am physically present is largely driven by where I am mentally present. The door, the mind, the soul can be opened towards Krishna, Bhagavad Gita, spiritual things, etc. Or the door, the mind, the soul can be open towards material things and sense objects. Whichever way the door is open, that's where our consciousness will go. Krishna is saying we have a choice. Either you can focus your consciousness, your mind on Krishna or on worldly objects. And depending on what we focus on, accordingly, we will get the results. Therefore, Krishna is saying, use the mind in a way that will bring liberation. We'll read verse number 5, purport, the last paragraph. Samma will read the last paragraph, which starts, for a man, mind is the cause of bondage.
For man, mind is the cause of bondage and mind is the cause of liberation. Mind absorbed in sense objects is the cause of bondage and mind detached from the sense objects is the cause of liberation. Amrita Bindu Upanishad 2. Therefore, the mind which is always engaged in Krishna consciousness is the cause of supreme liberation.
The mind can be the cause of bondage, as well as mind can be the cause of liberation. So Srila Prabhupada explains that mind absorbed in sense objects, it is going to cause you bondage. And mind detached from sense objects, the mind causes liberation. To free the mind from the default attraction to sense objects, we need to fix the mind on Krishna. Therefore, in chapter 9, verse number 34, and the same verse is almost repeated in chapter 18, verse number 65, Man mana bhava mad bhakto, madhyaji mam namaskaru. Plus in 6.47, Krishna says, the topmost yogi is one who fixes the mind on Krishna. Now, question will come up. Do we have any control on our mind? The answer is, we do not have absolute control over our mind, at least at the beginning stage, in the sadhaka, in the neophyte stage. because mind is very powerful. But we can have significant control over our mind by practicing. Example, you are driving a car and the driver is trained to keep bringing the car back on track. So by default, the mind will go off track. You cannot stop it. This is the nature of the mind. Mind is bound to wander. We will not be able to stop the mind from wandering. Mind is bound to go off track. But what we can do is we can keep bringing the mind back on track through conscious, consistent, and cultivation. And therefore, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 6.26 that from wherever the mind wanders, you keep bringing the mind back. Let's read 6.26. Ritu will read 6.26.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, can you share it on the screen?
Okay, right now Rashi will read 6.26. You find your Bhagavad Gita.
One minute, I'm getting there.
Prabhuji, I'm ready with 6.26.
Ritu, go ahead.
Yeah. Translation: from wherever the mind wanders due to its flickering and unsteady nature, one must certainly withdraw it and bring it back under the control of the self.
Right, so mind is going to wander. We just have to keep bringing the mind back again and again. So we have to be conscious where the mind is going right now. Otherwise, if the driver of a car is not aware that the car is going off track, well, the car will fall in a ditch. Similarly, I have to be consistently conscious of where my mind is. Plus, this alertness has to be consistent, not just here and there, because mind will always wander. Specifically, when I lower my guard, then it is possible that the mind may wander even more. So I have to be very consistently conscious and always be alert of where my mind is. So there's a point mentioned in the chat which says, 6.5 purport says the pure soul is entangled in the material world because the mind is involved with false ego. How to reduce the false ego? So doing devotional service, chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra are the ways to break through your false ego and regain your original Krishna consciousness. So those of you who had joined before the start of our class, I was playing the Prabhupada 4-minute lecture on the purport of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, where Prabhupada clearly says, chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra is the process to revive our original Krishna consciousness, which is dormant right now. If anybody wants, I can send it to you. Some of you already have it, but you can get it from me. Does that answer the question? Follow me.
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you.
All right. So now question may come up that how can the same entity mind be a friend or an enemy? It's one entity. How can the mind be a friend or an enemy? And the answer Krishna will state in verse number 6 and onwards, that depends on who is in control. If mind is in control, mind will become our enemy. If we are in control of the mind, then mind is our friend. Rashi, verse number 6 translation.
6.26, like the next one?
No. chapter 6, verse number 6.
Okay, 1 minute. For him has conquered the mind. The mind is the best of friends, but for one who has failed to do so, his mind will remain the greatest enemy.
Mind is a friend of the soul when by the mind has been conquered by the soul. So by the mind, conquer the mind. We will understand this with an example. So example is that a person is riding a chariot driven by horses. If horses are not in control, the horses will go here and there. But if the charioteer is in control, the horses are controlled by the charioteer, then the horses are the means by which the chariot can go fast. Now, if the charioteer says, you know what, I will drop the chariot and the horses and I will run by myself on the feet, well, the person cannot go fast. As in the chariot body picture example, which is there in Bhagavad Gita, so replace the charioteer with the soul. Replace the horses with the mind and the senses. And you will realize that we do need our mind and senses to act and interact in the material world. If we were to live in the material world without the mind and senses, it's going to be impossible. Just as in the example, the charioteer does need the chariot with the horses to reach faster at its destination. So just as I was explaining with the chariot example, you have the image on the screen, the chariot body image. So the horses are the senses and the soul is at the back crying, hey, what are you doing? Because the senses are in control and running here and there. But if the soul is in control, the soul gives directions to the driver, who's the mind, and mind gives instruction to the reins, which is, sorry, I'll repeat. The soul gives instruction to the driver, who's the intelligence. Intelligence gives instruction to the reins, which is the mind, and mind gives instruction to the senses. Then the rider with the chariot and the horses will be able to reach faster at his destination. But if he says, I will drop off the chariot and the horses and I will run by myself, it will take him a very long time to reach his destination. Let's read the purport for verse number 6. Raksha will read 6.6 purport, faster pace.
Purport. The purpose of practicing Eightfold Yoga is to control the mind in order to make it a friend in discharging the human mission. Unless the mind is controlled, the practice of yoga is simply a waste of time. One who cannot control his mind lives away with the greatest enemy, and thus his life and its mission are spoiled. The constitutional position of the living entity is to carry out the order of the superior. As long as one's mind remains an unconquered enemy, one has to serve the dictations of lust, anger, avarice, illusion, etc. But when the mind is conquered, one voluntarily agrees to abide by the dictation of the personality of Godhead, who is situated within the heart of everyone as Paramatma. Real yoga practice entails meeting the Paramatma within the heart and then following his dictation. For one who takes to Krishna consciousness directly, perfect surrender to the dictation of the Lord follows automatically. Hare Krishna.
So focus is on following the superior order. Constitutional position of the jiva is to carry out the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As long as one's mind remains unconquered, one has to serve the anarthas of lust, anger, greed, etc. But when mind is conquered, one voluntarily agrees to follow the dictations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead or the Paramatma within. The Prabhupada says, we are always servants. Either we can serve Krishna or we can serve Maya, or means the senses. There is no third choice. You either serve Krishna or you serve your senses. There is no third choice. If we try to control the sense gratification by force, by default, the gravity of sense gratification will pull us down. Maybe we may be able to control for a little while and also simultaneously do devotional service, but by default, our consciousness goes down towards sense objects and sense gratification because this is the default setting in our body. We'll discuss this in chapter 14. The default setting in our body towards senses is like the default setting when you get a new phone or any electronic device. And it comes with a default ringtone that you don't like. If you do not change the default setting, that ring will keep ringing, that ringtone. Similarly, if you do not change the default setting in your body, one will act according to the default setting of wanting to enjoy at the bodily sensual level. Therefore, we have to consciously pull upwards and hold on to Krishna and the Bhakti Yoga process. We'll soon discuss, and Krishna will explain this with a comparison, that Bhakti Yoga is easier compared to other yoga paths. And by this Bhakti Yoga, we'll keep moving up, up and upwards. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada is saying that we have to follow someone's order, someone superior. We cannot stay suspended. Either we will be pulled up by Krishna or we will be pulled down with our mind and senses. If we want to disobey the mind, well, then we will have to obey Krishna. And if we disobey Krishna, we will be obedient servants of mind and senses. I am servant of my senses, but I think I am master. This is the illusion that we are in. We trust our mind too much instead of trusting our well-wisher Krishna. What mind is telling us is not in our best interest. Almost all of you have heard the Chaitanya Chanda's lecture on mind control, where he explains that treat the mind as an untrusted outsider. That somebody outsider comes and tells you to do something. No, you will not do it. You will first validate it. So whatever the mind tells you, don't just follow. Validate it with scriptures. Is this activity taking me towards Krishna? Okay, then I will do it. If it's taking me away from Krishna, then I will not do it. Srila Prabhupada says, if we follow Krishna and Krishna's instructions, we can be free from serving the mind and the senses. So we have to learn from Kaikeyi's example. Kaikeyi is Lord Ram's stepmother. That first, Don't hear the mind submissively. And if you have to hear the mind, if you cannot avoid hearing the mind, well, then don't act without consulting with Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra, someone whom you trust more than your mind. So what Kaikai did was, Kaikai heard a gossip, and without consulting with anybody, got Lord Ram to be sent to exile. Don't do this. This is the learning from Kaikai, that first don't listen to your mind, and if you have to listen, then don't act without consulting Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. Questions, comments, realizations? Verse number 7, Krishna will describe the result of one who has conquered the mind. Follow me, verse number 7 translation.
Yes, Prabhuji. 6.7. For one who has conquered the mind, the super soul is already reached, for he has attained tranquility. To such a man, happiness and distress, heat and cold, honor and dishonor are all the same. Hare Krishna.
So mind will become a friend when we will go beyond the dualities. One who has conquered the mind, the person becomes peaceful and the soul attains Paramatma. So this 6.7 is the first verse in Bhagavad Gita where Paramatma is used. Super soul or the Paramatma is right next to the individual soul. But the individual soul has turned away and is looking to the material world. Mind is causing the soul to wanting to enjoy, because the mind is filled with fantasies for material enjoyment. Therefore, the mind drags the soul away. When mind is controlled, we become peaceful. Hence, I will not be excited by the hopes and pleasures in the material world. And thus, we will turn to our inner world. Thus, such a person is not affected by dualities. So in this 6.7, Krishna is talking of dualities at 3 levels. Look at the Sanskrit of 6.7, line number 3 and 4. Sita, Usna, Sukha, Dukkada, and Man, Apman. So Sita means cold, Usna means heat. So Sita, Usna, this is at bodily level, heat and cold. Then Sukha, Dukkha. Sukha is happiness, Dukkha is distress. This is at mental level. And Man, Apman. Man means honor and Apman means dishonor. This is at the ego level. So when one transcends all these 3 dualities, that's when the mind is a friend and the soul has already attained Paramatma. Questions, comments, realizations? Okay. Verse number 8 and 9, Krishna will describe the vision of a person who has conquered the mind, means the Samadarshina. Anybody remembers where we have discussed the Samadarshina earlier, or what was the Samadarshina essence verse? What's the essence of this? Anybody remembers? Nobody remembers 5.18. Anybody? Everybody forgot. 5.18 was the Samadarshina verse that we discussed. Okay, and verse chapter 6 verses 8 and 9 are identical Samadarshina verses. Means the vision of a person who has attained Paramatma. Mohit Prabhu, verse number 8 translation.
A person is said to be established in self-realization and is called a yogi or mystic when he is fully satisfied by virtue of acquired knowledge and realization. Such a person is situated in transcendence and is self-controlled. He sees everything, whether it be pebbles, stones, or gold, as the same.
So by jnana means by acquired knowledge, and vijnana. Vijnana means realized knowledge. Both by jnana and vijnana, one becomes satisfied and is spiritually situated and is not materially disturbed. That person has conquered the mind and the senses. Is well situated for self-realization, means the person has equal vision for material things such as pebbles, stone, and gold. Now, how can one consider gold and stone as equal? Because one does not think worldly things can make me happy. I am a soul, neither gold nor stone can make me happy because they are material. But I am spiritual, hence the person becomes detached. An example from the positive side of treating stone and gold as equal is our dear Srila Prabhupada. So at the start of ISKCON, in one of the centers where the new temple was being built, so you need cement. So they will buy cement. And in India, cement is always scarce and people will steal away cement also. So Prabhupada noticed that the cement that they were buying, cement is basically stone that they were buying, it was getting stolen. So Prabhupada got lock and key and the place to store cement, just as somebody will get lock and key to store gold. So Srila Prabhupada was treating cement, which is pebbles, identical to gold because it was meant for the service of Krishna. In the purport for 6.8, the very first line is very important line. Srila Prabhupada says, only by theoretical knowledge and realized knowledge, one can become satisfied. So knowledge alone is not enough. You need realized knowledge, means you need to practice at the level of soul. Then it becomes Gyan, Vigyan. Then the realized knowledge, the knowledge and the realized knowledge is important. Therefore, the first line says, book knowledge without realization is useless. Useless means it will not bring any satisfaction, not bring any transformation, not bring any purification. Therefore, it is useless. So, jnana means theoretical knowledge. Yes, it's a good starting point that I am not this body, I am a soul. But then you have to go to the next step of being living at the level of soul, practicing as a soul. That's our entire Bhagavad Gita approach, that we all try to come to the level of soul. I explained this at the very first class. So how does knowledge become realization? First is hearing. We hear the knowledge, just as what we are trying to do. The knowledge goes into the ears. Then we contemplate. That's step number 2 is contemplation. We contemplate. knowledge goes to the head, it becomes little advanced knowledge. And then applying, that's the step number 3, means internalizing and applying. When we internalize, when we apply it further, when we live at the level of soul, when we do devotional service, then it becomes Vijnana. Vijnana means internalized, not just at the level of head, but internalize at the level of heart. Anybody remembers what does realization mean from our previous conversation? Realization means when the mind accepts something that is true, then it goes deep into our heart. So realization means a reality that we accept as a reality. So sense gratification is a misery, is a reality, but I have not accepted. When I will accept that sense gratification leads to misery, then it becomes realization. Once we internalize, we realize that sense gratification leads to misery. Hence, I will not indulge into sense gratification. Therefore, Krishna is saying that when one has jnana and vijnana, vijnana is realization, then one becomes satisfied. If one has jnana, that sense gratification leads to misery, but no vijnana, it will result to frustration, because the person will be feeling that sense gratification is actually pleasure, and why I am not allowed sense gratification. Hence, there will be frustration. Now, question becomes, what prevents jnana from becoming vijnana? So there are 2 obstacles: desires and doubts. Desires make us feel there is so much enjoyment here in the material world. Why should I go to Krishna? Why do I have to wake up early in the morning and chant 16 rounds of japa? And the second is doubts make us feel, is Krishna real? Is spirituality real? Who has seen the spiritual world? Therefore, both these desires and doubts create obstacles from jnana becoming vijnana. Therefore, when we have doubts, we should keep them in suspension rather than judging them as right or wrong. We have heard Chandran Chanda's lecture on this, that unless we come to a purified level, till that time we keep our doubts in suspension. When we continue practicing Krishna consciousness and get our doubts cleared by a senior devotee. Questions, comments, realizations? I got real silence today. Now in verse number 6.8, Krishna has described equal vision towards material things. In 6.9, Krishna will describe higher level of consciousness, where Krishna describes equal vision to all kinds of people also. Why? Because it is one thing to see things equally, which are not conscious, like pebbles and gold. But it is quite another to see people equally, because those physical things don't act and react like people. People are of different kinds. Therefore, the 6.9 verse is the next level of Samadarshina. Mansi, 6.9 translation.
A person is considered still further advanced when he regards honest well-wishers, affectionate benefactors, and the neutrals, meditators, the envious friends and enemies, the poise and the sinners, all with an equal mind.
So Krishna has also stated this Samadarshina in 5.18 as humans and non-humans. So yogi sees all beings equally. When one has equal vision, one stops seeing other people based on their potential for sense gratification. Example, want to look at good-looking person because want to provide sense gratification for my eyes to see good-looking person or things again and again. Now, somebody who is not good-looking, no one notices because the focus of looking is how much is the potential for sense gratification for me. When one has given up the desires for sense gratification, because sense gratification leads to misery, then one does not evaluate people based on their potential for sense gratification. That's how one can have equal vision. Those who have such equal vision, they can take renounced order. So I've done a very heavy conversation in the first 9 verses. Let me summarize. So sannyasi and yogi are same because the common factor is to renounce enjoying mentality. Otherwise cannot do yoga. Aruruksha means beginning to Aruda advanced stage. The difference is the control of the mind. To be equipoised to dualities, not just giving up work and saying I am advanced. No, it doesn't work that way. The difference between Aruruksha and Aruda is the control of the mind and to be equipoised to dualities. So some parts of the eightfold Ashtanga Yoga steps of Yama, Niyam, Asana, Pranayam, Pratyahar, Dhyana, Dharana, and Samadhi can be used while we are in the Karma Yoga and Bhakti Yoga paths. No sense gratification plus give up the desire to sense gratification leads one to come to the Arudha advanced stage. Mind is the main obstacle to come to the advanced Arudha stage. Controlled mind means mind is my friend and Paramatma is already attained, plus I have Samadarshina. Uncontrolled mind means mind is my enemy. Sorry. And the last point for today is Jnana does not become Vijnana because of desires and doubts. Questions, comments, realizations. We can use the remaining 10 minutes or so for some questions and realizations. I got real silence from many of you. There is one question posted in the chat which says, what does the line mean the super soul is reached? Does it mean one can experience the presence of super soul within the body? Absolutely correct. Super soul or Paramatma reach means you can perceive the presence of super soul not just within yourself, but also within everyone else. Does that answer the inquiry?
Yes, Prabhu, thank you.
Questions, comments, realizations? Matan Prabhu?
What is the eightfold yoga system that is talking about here?
What's your question?
What is the eightfold yoga system?
The eightfold yoga system are the 8 stages or the 8 steps of Ashtanga Yoga, which is Yama, Niyam, Asana, Pranayam, Pratyahar, Dhyana, Dharana, Samadhi. These are the 8 stages of Ashtanga Yogi. Matan?
Okay, thank you.
I got real silence from many of you. Everybody on the same page, what we have discussed, many of you must have felt, I don't understand what is going on. Did many of you were on the same page of not understanding what was going on? I got real silence on that question also. Yes, no. Did I make you all sleep today?
Prabhuji, I have a question.
Mhm.
Whenever someone give me something, if something big or gift, they always have an issue that I do not show any excitement. And sometimes I have to like fake it and say, oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. But deep in my heart, I don't really care for that excitement. Like
Okay, so that's a good sign that you are neutral to material things. That's very good. Continue doing it.
And I have another question also. So if I talk to someone and this person describe a person, they will describe that person like whatever they own, their material status, whatever they own in the world. They would not describe this person, oh, do you know this person? They always have to say this person's status.
Yeah.
So how do I react to that? Because once I had an issue with someone.
Because everybody is at bodily level, right? So
Yeah.
just in this example is given in Srimad Bhagavatam.
Yeah.
That say if there is a car accident, so the person will come out of the car and say, why did you hit me? Arey Baba, nobody hit you. One car hit the other car. But we think I am my body and everything associate with my body, I think is mine. Therefore, the person will come out and say, why did you hit me? Arey Baba, I did not hit you. The car hit the other car. But they don't say that why did you hit the car? The person is just identifying himself with the body as well as all things associated with the body as also mind. So what you do in this scenario is you realize that the other person is at bodily level of consciousness. You come out of bodily consciousness by understanding from the scriptures that I am not this body. Inside my body, there is this soul which is distinct from the body, as well as inside my body, there is also this contaminated mind. So there are different things in our body, different entities. So you use the circumstance to your advantage of realizing what I have studied in scriptures. Yes, everybody is considering that I am this body, but we have to come out of that bodily consciousness. Deepa?
Yes, Prabhuji. And one thing I have to admit, so most of the times when I get dressed or I'm going out somewhere, I always look at myself in the mirror. But after I joined the Bhagavad Gita class, I realized, oh, I'm not the body, I'm the soul.
Very good.
So I just don't look at myself anymore.
Yeah, very good. Keep practicing. So that's a very good sign. Yeah, very good.
Thank you.
Rest of you, did I make all of you sleep? Was it a heavy, confusing class today? I asked everybody to unmute and I still got silence.
Krishna Prabhuji, it was a heavy class, but we are not sleeping.
Okay, thank you. Rest of you?
Yes, Prabhuji, it was a heavy class, but I understood it in very well manner.
Okay, very good. Thank you for listening with rapt attention. Questions, comments, realizations? Okay, so we do welcome Kamana. She's also in the process of getting caught up. So welcome and feel free to ask any and all questions, even though you are joining partway through. Don't worry about it. Many devotees have joined partway and they are all in the process of getting caught up, and some have got caught up. So you will also get caught up. So don't worry about what's going on, and you just ask questions, whatever come to your mind. Kamana?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. I got to know, I'm so grateful to join this class. Well, I have one question.
Yeah.
As you said that we all, Mataji need protection from, Mataji need protection, but what if we don't want to get married? Marry?
Yeah, you should get married. Prabhupada has clearly said that for a Vaishnavi, married life is the best way and the easiest way to advance in spirituality. And rather than saying I will do it by myself, it's very difficult. So the world, the way it is built, Vaishnavis get exploited a lot, and it's a difficult for Vaishnavi to advance by herself. So for a Vaishnavi, married life to a devotee is the best. So try to get guidance from a senior, from your local temple, or from a spiritual master to get a suitable devotee, and it's easier that way. Kamna, does that help you?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Okay, very good. Matan Prabhu?
Yeah, I heard that females should not get married, if they cannot produce Krishna conscious children. Like some females, they are not into bhakti, they don't know anything about bhakti. So
Yeah, so what it says is that scriptures describe that you should use your senses only for service of Krishna, including the reproductive organ of the body, that you should begot children that are Krishna conscious. Otherwise not. If you have capacity to make one child as Krishna conscious, then begot one child. That's it. And don't use the reproductive organ again. It's only meant for begetting Krishna conscious children. If you cannot begot Krishna conscious children, then don't. If you have capacity for two, then begot two children. That's it. So last thing, I will bring up the yoga letter chart again on the screen. I did share in the chat, and I will share again. I think one or two of you joined afterwards. So print this on a tabloid size page. Use a print version. It's easier because we'll be jumping between so many columns back and forth. And the yoga letter class will run like a movie in a fast forward mode. So next class, we will aim to finish lot of verses for chapter 6 from verse 10 onwards. We'll aim to complete up to verse number 35. It will be a very fast-paced class, so that the following class will become the yoga letter class. So on 5th of April, I am targeting to have the yoga letter class. So print this, sit with a cone of silence. You cannot travel, otherwise you won't be able to populate. Sit with a cone of silence, this yoga letter chart. You will have all known and unknown puzzles fall in their respective places. And then the following class will be an open-ended question answer session where you all will ask at least one question and ask and explain at least one tracking point and ask at least one question, and I will answer. We'll have an open-ended conversation. This yoga ladder is essentially the summary of the first 6 chapters. This yoga ladder class in its entirety does not exist anywhere. Bits and pieces of these exist many places. I had actually asked the ISKCON education department to include this in their Bhakti Shastri. I don't think they have done so far. But in its entirety, it doesn't exist anywhere except in our classes. So I will post the yoga ladder chart again in the chat, and you can download and print and bring it at our following class. Print on a tabloid size page, big size page in landscape. Otherwise, it will become very, very small for you to write on. Are we okay to stop here? We are just about at 11:45 a.m. here in Toronto time. Before I say, I will send to many of you today's class recording, even though you are virtually present, so that we can test whether Zoom has fixed the glitch properly. So now you should be able to listen to the recordings on your phone. Previously, many of you had the challenge. So I will send to you all, even though you are virtually present, and you can confirm back to me. Thank you, everybody. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.